Welcome to Teaching Orchestra. In this video, we're going to be looking at the common problems in Crossing Pirates Cove by Deborah Baker Monday. And when groups get this to a performance, in front of the evil concert judges at your next competition, what are they likely to hear? What are the things that don't quite get fixed? Okay, there are 5 things, and I'm going to go over them in this video. So, number 1, the pizzicato are not together. That's just a pet peeve of mine, is that pizzicatos can't sound like popcorn. I want them perfectly together. And so in the teaching companion, I have these pizzicato exercises so that they learn how to play pizzicato incrementally. Now, in the first one, we play one note together, rest 2, so that gives us time to prepare, pull back the string, and release. Okay. With the next one, we have to do it on beat 2, so we have to prepare, pull back the string, and release on beat 2, so it's a lot more challenging. And then in exercise number 3, we prepare, pull back, release, and then we have a rest, and we got to do it again. Now, when you do these, have the students do them over and over again, first on open D, and don't just play it once and then go to the next one and then go to the next one. Isolate and work on them specifically so they get really good at it. And then what you can do is you can go back to these finger patterns, and you can do the same exercises in the patterns that they're supposed to play in. And that way, when you get them over here, then they should be lining up these patterns. The second issue that orchestras tend to run into is that they don't use enough dynamics. And look, just from the opening here. Start with piano. We get louder and we go to forte. Now, how often do we hear the same volume from here to here? And Ms. Monday really helps us out because we start with just a few instruments playing, and then we add people, and then everybody's playing. But it's not always that way, because from 25, where everybody's forte, to 29, everybody's playing, and then everybody comes back. Violins go from forte to piano. Viola, cello, bass go from piano to mezzo forte with a legato style. But are we making that dynamic difference? Are we making that dynamic change? At 37, are we getting louder? And do we hear a significant difference in dynamic between 29 and 37? Now, number 3 is related to number 2 because it's in piano sections, but we have the additional challenge at 29, and the violas especially, of playing on lower strings. So are the students making good tone on the G string here? Are your second violins making good tone on the D string? Hopefully these are finger days on the D string. Okay, these guys are not playing on quite as low strings, but do we have the technique to play soft, but also play with rich tone? A lot of times it helps to use fewer bow hair, and I did a demonstration video on this, on how to do bow hair rolls while you're playing to get your students to start using flexion to use fewer bow hair. And a lot of times that will help because you can use enough grip on the string with the bow hair, but not use as many bow hair, so you can get better tone, but not play so loud. The fourth problem that a lot of orchestras run into in Crossing Pirates Cove are the last 4 measures. The last 4 measures at first glance look fine. However, this rest can be a big problem. A lot of groups tend to rush, especially if they get really excited because they're playing as loud as possible, and we aren't really together here. Sometimes we're not playing as loud as possible. We're not really putting a lot of pressure on the string, and we all seem to be on the D strings here. So make sure that we're using a lot of bow weight And sometimes we're not really playing very well in tune. So do we know that minor pattern? At the end of this passage, are we getting a good ring at the end? Is the last note all the way to the rest? Are we making a good release? Are we making a good final impression on our audience or on our judges? And the fifth thing that I want to go over in this video is the lead up into the last 4 measures, or the crescendo going into the last 4 measures. 128, we drop down to piano, and it tells us to gradually get louder to measure 32. That's an interesting abbreviation for measures. I haven't seen that one before, but cool. What happens when our students are getting louder and louder coming into 32? They rush, just like they tend to rush here. So it might be a good idea to keep an eye on the tempo and make sure that they're using plenty of bow, and make sure that they're not compressing their bows too much on the 8th notes. Try to get them to use a little bit more bow here. Really have your cellos and bass players count on these dotted half notes. Don't let them rush. Full bows here. As they get louder, keep everybody together. Crossing Pirates Cove is one of my favorite pieces for string orchestra, and my students really love to play it. And I hope my tips have been helpful so that your groups can sound their best in their next concert or competition. I hope to see you in my next video.